County Fire Rescue Division is approximately 10 years old. In 1981, Orange County consolidated 16 of its fire control districts into the current Fire Rescue Division. And we've had quite an interesting 10 years of growth in this particular area. We went from an organization that was roughly 300 plus employees in 1981 to over 700 today. So in 10 years we've doubled our size. Not only in staff, but almost in facilities. In addition to the growth, I think we're very, very visible, highly visible, not only from a national standpoint, statewide standpoint, but also internationally. We have a tremendous amount of international visitors here. They're growing every year. So we have a tremendous amount of visibility. The Sunshine State, you know, nice weather conditions, a lot of people like to come here. And with that comes the demands placed on the Fire Rescue Division. We provide an excellent EMS service. We'd like to think one of the best services in the country. And that's what we pride ourselves on. And like many other places in the country, it amounts to probably 65% of our business.
The Orange County Fire and Rescue Division is divided into 5 battalions. They operate 31 engine companies, 6 truck companies, and 18 rescue companies. In addition, other specialized units include a heavy rescue company known as Squad 1, a hazmat unit, a mobile command post, a disaster trailer, 2 muck fire units, and 2 fire investigation units. The department also maintains 7 reserve engines, 1 reserve ladder, and 5 reserve rescues. The department responds to an area of over 980 square miles. In 1991, calls totaled 39,761. 618 were for structure fires. 6,451 were vehicle responses, including 647 auto fires. EMS calls totaled 19,298. And there were 13,394 miscellaneous calls. The department employs 627 sworn members and 127 civilians. Engines are currently manned by an officer and 2 firefighters. Truck companies are manned by an officer and 2 or 3 firefighters. Rescue companies are manned by 2 firefighter paramedics. Although Orlando is located within Orange County, the city of Orlando maintains its own fire department. The Orange County Communications Facility is shared by both the Sheriff's Department and the Fire and Rescue Division.
Orange County is the first totally enhanced 911 system in the country. They put it in 1982. And at that time, it was just the fire department here. And over the years, we've expanded. We now have all the Sheriff's Department dispatchers here. We do all the dispatching for Orange County Fire Rescue here, up in excess of 50,000 calls a year.
Many of our dispatchers started with old fire control districts. And in that particular instance, it was usually one person in one office that did everything. In the older days, it was more common for the dispatcher to answer the phone, take down the information, and then say something to the effect of, "We'll be there soon." In today's fire department, it's more common for the dispatcher to tell the caller what to do until we arrive, what they can do to control that situation, what they can do to help, or what they can do to minimize the damage when we arrive. Well, Orange County, of course, includes the city of Orlando. We also have several other small municipalities. It is an extremely high tourist area, and that presents a unique challenge to us because many of our callers have no idea where they are when they dial 911. And that's the good thing about 911. Years ago, when they called and they wanted emergency equipment, we asked them where they were, and they said, "I don't know." There was really very little we could do for them. But in today's 911 system, they don't really need to know where they are. So that makes us unique in the sense that we have a high flow of tourists in the area who really don't know where they are, and they don't know who to call for help, and so 911, it really helps that.
One of the most impressive components of the department is training. The Central Florida Fire Training Center at Orlando is truly unique in its design, construction, and joint operation.
It's a consortium that is made up of about 13 separate fire departments from around the Orange County and Central Florida area. Several years ago, about 15 years ago, we had small districts, and we put together a consortium of interagencies between the Orange County government, the City of Orlando government, and the Orange County School Board, and banded together, if you will, so that we could pool our money and our resources. The high-rise facility, or the rope rescue training facility, was the first building in the complex that was built several years ago. It serves not only for high-rise simulation for hose evolutions, but also, as you can see, we do quite a bit of rope rescue training down in the Central Florida area. The burn building is probably the gem, if you will, of our complex out here. Originally, it was designed to be able to be used with gas fires. Because of cost prohibitions over the last couple of years, as everyone is experiencing, we've had to go to Class A fuels. We're using a straw that we're buying out of the central Georgia area. It has, it's a multi-story, as you can see. We use it not only for interior and exterior fires, but also for high-rise rescue. Has a lot of different settings and scenarios, from a mercantile storefront. It has a warehouse setting. Most of it is set in a residential and a garden apartment type of setting, but we've gotten a lot of fire experience out of it. We don't see a lot of fire in the Central Florida area because of the newly constructed structures we have, so we have to rely a lot on our simulation, and we've gotten a lot of use out of it. We've probably burned 500 or 600 fires over the last 6 months in there. It's kind of a neat setup in that there's a skeleton built or superstructure that just supports itself, and then all the brickwork that you see are actually panel walls, so that if we do have an accident, a large vehicle or what have you, that were to hit it and fracture it, we can tear it down and build it with relatively easy and not a whole lot of cost. Also, the nice thing about it is because of the dynamics of fire on structures and stable structures, if you will, the fire isn't going to affect the stability of the building. The superstructure itself will expand, the walls will pretty much stay intact, and they have metal plates that allow it to slide back and forth. So we're hoping that will cut down on the cracks that you see in some of the other fire buildings around the country.
The training center contains one of the most advanced structures for SCBA training.
We've checked around and not really found anyone anywhere else who uses this type of system. We use various different types of sensors, infrared beams, passives, as well as reed switches, magnet switches, to be able to tell us what the students are doing. What we have is a multi-level, multi-maze room, which we have currently 5 mazes in operation. Sensors in each of the mazes allows us to track the students more closely. We have remote control water, remote control smoke, radio communications. We have various different hazards back there, which this instructor here can pick them up as soon as they hit the hazard and communicate the problems inside. And like I said, we also have, as you can see here, remote control lighting as far as locking and unlocking doors, as far as your entrance doors and exit doors. Back here, like I was saying, we have various different levels of mazes, from doing apartment searches up through our smoke diver program, which is our highly trained people. In that maze, we have a drop floor section, which causes a little bit of an apprehension problem with them, as well as we have a ramp that's 40-some feet long with a 45-degree tip to the right as well as down, which is totally covered with obstructed ropes and wiring in there, which has another problem to deal with. That particular maze also requires a bottle change out, so we're looking at, it takes right at 40 minutes to travel that maze. We have here at the Training Academy, we have an LP training area, which we have remote control props of a broken flange, an LP truck, an LP tank, a car, and we're also working on flammable liquids bubble tank.
The department's maintenance shop and warehouse facility is located right next to headquarters. The setup is such that vehicles are not only repaired and serviced, but engine overhauls and limited amounts of refurbishing are done here. Many areas of the country have fire situations that are unique, and Central Florida is no exception. Because of the large amount of undeveloped terrain, Special Woods trucks were designed to provide efficient protection and firefighting capabilities.
There were several missions that I wanted to suggest the department adopt for this truck, and oftentimes in the development of fire apparatus, that's something that is a neglected identification of the mission. The mission of this truck was to be able to function not only as a heavy brush fighting vehicle, but also to be able to double as a rural firefighting pumper.
They're a remarkable improvement over the older Woods trucks that most departments have, which are the old Army Jeep type operations. Much more comfortable strictly from a driver's standpoint. You have an automatic transmission. You have all-wheel drive, which can be engaged and disengaged from the cab. You have air conditioning. It's a Hell pump rated at 500 GPMs. It's operated by a Volkswagen engine that's separate from the drivetrain. It carries 600 gallons of water. The front automatic nozzle is rated at 60 GPM. Our SOPs for running the Woods truck is the firefighters always ride in the caged area. The caged areas are enclosed. They also have an additional chain. If for some reason the door swings open, there's a chain to hold the door. So the firefighters are in a safe area when they operate. It has 2 pre-connect booster reels with discharges that the firefighter has immediate water source that he can get to. The discharges are open and closed here in the riding area, so you don't have to worry about going back and forth to your pump panel. It also has a booster reel with a standard 200 feet of booster line if you get an area where the Woods truck can't get and you need to get a line to the area. So we do have an onboard air system. It's very similar to the ones you find in ladder towers. The bottle sits there in the middle. You have hookups on either side for the firefighters. Plus, like I mentioned earlier, the driver can actually slide the glass open and hook in a mask himself if he has to. Our Woods trucks carry basic Woods firefighting hand tools that you would find. We have compartments on either side of the truck, fire rakes, fire flaps, shovels, flathead shovels, chainsaws, bolt cutters. We also carry equipment. If we enter pasture areas, we can go back and repair the fence after we've cut the fence and secure areas where there might be livestock. If you get into a fast-moving fire situation where the one-man operator doesn't have time to get a firefighter on board, he can operate the truck by himself. By cranking your pump and using your front nozzle, you can make a quick attack on the fire and knock down the forward progress of the fire, then go back and pick up your firefighter and go back and mop up.
In most areas of the country, firefighters have never heard of muck fires. So, what is a muck fire?
Well, a muck fire is when you have a lot of decaying foliage. In some parts of Florida, it gets up to 50, 60 feet deep, and when the fire gets in that area, there's no way to get to it. It can smolder for weeks or months, and creates quite a hazard in the area, not just the smoke from bothering people's respiratory systems, but also the traffic. It's bad enough without smoke. And the only way to get to it is to flood it with a whole bunch of water. And we've got rain birds that will flow 30, 40 gallons a minute, and that's how we saturate the area. We have 2 pieces of apparatus that we can put in relay to get to these remote locations and put water, a lot of water, with these rain birds spread out over a large area in order to saturate the soil. These are what we've traditionally called muck trucks. The official designation for these 2 vehicles are Woods 172 and Woods 272. It just makes it easier for the dispatcher to remember them that way.
Although the Orange County Fire and Rescue Division does not maintain its own air rescue units, there are 2 helicopters operated by the Orange County Sheriff's Department and are used in conjunction with the fire department whenever the need arises. Because of the large expanse of flat terrain, there's often a need for medical transport and aerial fire reconnaissance.
To become a paramedic on the helicopter, you have to be an auxiliary deputy as well. To do this, they have to go through a screening process, the same as a deputy sheriff does, pass the same testing procedures, and once they achieve that, they're placed in the Auxiliary Deputy Academy, which is approximately 2 months of training on a part-time basis. We average approximately 30 calls per month for EMS and fire-related activity.
One of the newest additions to the Orange County Fire and Rescue Division is Squad 1, a heavy rescue unit added to the department in 1991.
It's been really enjoyable being on the unit. A lot of activity, a lot of different types of calls that we go on. It started off as 2 separate units before we got the unit that's behind us now. And we were running out of 2 units at that time, and about a little over a year ago we got the unit that's behind us in service. And since it's been in service, there's been a continuing of getting new equipment on this unit, and we just about got it all the equipment on there that we intended to get on it. And like I said, the multiple amount of calls that we go on, it's just been really good. It's a special services unit. We go on predominantly hazardous materials calls and unusual type of rescue calls. It's the only job I've ever had in my life that I've never been bored with. There's always a lot of complaints that everybody can have about anything that they're doing, but one thing the job has never been is boring, and I guess that's what keeps me here. It's always challenging.
I believe the future is going to be bright. I think that the future is not necessarily going to be as rapid a development as we've noticed in the last 10 years. I think that the next 10 years is going to be more of a slow, progressive development of this area. And a lot of it's going to be tied to the economy. But I think that the Orange County Fire Rescue Division has a very bright future in the next 10 to 20 years.